Alongside Craig Sager, I'm Georgia Chambers. Craig, we're almost to another Friday. A lot of excitement going into the second week of the high school football season. How are you feeling for Friday?
Feeling very excited. This week we won't be as much on the road. You'll be at the game, but I'm excited to just have 1 week of seeing these teams out there. There are some big season openers too for a few teams that didn't get to play. A lot of out-of-state games we'll get to see this week to see how Georgia stacks up. And I'm excited about it. Some more cross classifications and then some of the final games before region play, even for some teams.
Now that we have the Corky Cal Dave Hunter Classic under our belt, I feel like we can do anything. After having that to start the season, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, but that definitely having that under their belt, we can do anything. Let's get started with our fast break headlines, starting off with some football news. Braden Rouse accepted his invitation to the Navy All-American Bowl. He stands at 6'3", 210 pounds, and he's a very versatile athlete. Not only does he play 3 sports, he plays both sides of the ball. And on your screen now, you're seeing a clip of him from the Corky Cal Dave Hunter Classic. He started off the season on a high note.
Yeah, he was unguardable. We saw him, there's Hayden right there. We saw him just do a great job in the 7-on-7s all summer long. Offensively, he can go out there, line up in the slot, play almost like a tight end role, 6'3", 210 pounds. Last season, though, was when he really made that leap at the linebacker position and defensively. That's where he's projected to play at the next level. That's where he'll be playing in the All-American game. And then we didn't really get to see too much of him defensively week 1 against South Paulding. South Paulding had 1 first down on the opening drive, didn't get another first down until the third quarter. So he only had maybe a tackle or 2. They'll play Alpharetta tonight, but I'm excited to see his development at the linebacker position because he's such an unbelievable athlete. I feel like once he focuses on that craft, he's going to bring a different level of athleticism.
In the Corky Cal Dave Hunter Classic, he only had 1 tackle on defense, but he had 5 catches for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns in the season opening win over South Paulding. How much of a threat does that make him when he's very versatile as a player and you're expecting him to be dominant on defense, but then he comes out and has that offensive performance?
A huge threat, and he's on Kel's basketball team, which is an unbelievable program. I actually talked to Coach Markuski at the game, one of the assistants on the staff. It's almost like a basketball team. You know, when, let's say, 2 of your teammates are going off offensively and they're both dropping 20 points, you can get it done on the defensive end. I feel like Kel's the same way with him. If the offense is doing its thing, or maybe the offense is stumbling, they need him to step on defense, he will. If the offense needs a spark, he can go in and provide a spark right there. So it's almost like that basketball role where he just can help the team in any way.
Well, and Rouse is a 2-time state champ on that basketball team. So having played basketball, track, and football, that versatility definitely translates to the field. All right, moving along now to our second fast break headline. North Cobb Christian Volleyball splits their tri-match on Tuesday. Craig, they're 2-4 overall in the season. Looking at last year, they were 27-12 and went on to become the region champs. Is this record as it stands now, even though it's early on in the season, disappointing to you?
It is a little, yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern for them. But when you look at just the situation of their schedule, so they're the only private school in their region. They swept it pretty easily last year. So they still have 8 more matches until the region gets started. They're loading their schedule with all these higher classification, top-ranked teams, splitting with Whitfield Academy and St. Pius. That's not a bad result at all. They have a big match against Kell tonight. Kell is a top 10 team also, but to me, it's just preparing themselves for this playoffs with Holy Innocents, Hebron. You have Lovett playing extremely well. They'll be playing them coming up. So I feel like 2-4 is not the best start for them, but it's very early on into the season. Alpharetta's already played 14 matches. They've only played 6.
And they have more than a handful of games to go until they enter region play. So where would you like to see this team before they enter those matchups?
Ooh, that's a good question. If they can, out of these next 8 games, I'd like to see them win at least 5 of them. And these are tough opponents, but I still would put money on them for well, not real money, but put money on them theoretically to sweep their region again and be a team that can make it far. They lost to Lovett last year in the playoffs, and I mean, that's a great team. I just feel like the 2-4 start is a little deceiving, and they're a team that can get back in my top 10.
Moving along with our fast break headlines, Cooper Bizarski named Cobb Football Friday Player of the Week, sitting at 5'9", 170 pounds. He's North Cobb Christian's tailback. Last season, he made the switch from slot receiver to running back, and going into his senior season, he carried the ball for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Eagles' season-opening win last Friday over Providence Christian, and he beat out players like Kell running back Mooney Gibson and McEachern's Casey Barner. A lot of talent on this list. What makes him stand out for you on this list of highly competed names?
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible story. You talk about the names that he beat out, but North Cobb Christian needed someone to step up. They had so much momentum going for them as a program. They beat Savannah Christian last year on the road, but then Teddy Gerard goes over to North Cobb. They're coming off their best seasons ever, but one of the strengths of this team that Coach Jones was talking about was the offensive line. And so him switching over to the running back position, having this big performance, it gives the team an identity. So, I mean, you could argue who did have the best performance week 1, but in terms of what it means for North Cobb Christian moving forward, for him to go out there and prove he could be their lead back this season, it was huge. It was well-deserving, and North Cobb Christian has been able to solidify themselves as a team that is now ranked in the top 10 when there were a lot of questions just with the offense.
This is the best offensive line head coach Matt Jones has had, so that definitely does give him an edge when he's getting the ball, when you have those great guys up front. How does this set the tone for the rest of the season when he has such a dominant game 1?
I think North Cobb Christian is still a very talented team. Losing a quarterback is going to be very difficult, but they would not have won those big games last year without the balance offensively, without the coaching of Coach Jones, without the defense. So I feel like they might be a more physical team this year than last year, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then we'll see what North Cobb does with Teddy Gerard this year, but also how North Cobb Christian continues to find new players to step up. They have a lot of athletes, and being able to move them around like that, that's good coaching, and it's also kids that are willing to be coachable.
Cooper's also a player that's been recognized off the field as well. They vote for their team captains, and he was voted by his teammates to lead this team. So not only does that speak for his character on the field, but what he's able to do to lead these young men off the field as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a guy that played a big role last year in the passing game also. Watch out for him coming out of the backfield if he starts getting involved in that capacity. So he obviously put in the work this offseason. That's why he earned the respect of his teammates. And having a big performance like that, winning Player of the Week, definitely makes him the leader of this team.
All right, moving along with our fast break headlines, Model and Mount Zion Jonesboro softball met in a battle of unbeatens. Both were 4-0 going into this matchup. What was your takeaway from these undefeated teams such early on in the season going face-to-face?
Well, for Model, what's interesting, 4-0 is a great start, but that's actually one of their best starts in, I think, over a decade. So what Model's been doing, they've been playing a lot of the local area teams up in North Georgia. That is a softball powerhouse area right there. So many outstanding teams. They still have to get into, I guess, the meat of their schedule, but this is notable because this is one of their best starts in school history.
And moving along, last but certainly not least, some big news for the coaching side of things. Former Georgia high school football head coach Rush Propst is now the head coach in Alabama. He has a lot of accolades under his name. At Hoover High School, he won 5 state titles, and at Colquitt County, he won 2. Now, it's interesting because he's the interim head coach now, but he did say he's only doing it for 4 months, but if they come to him after the season and want him to stay, there's a possibility. Even though he's 67 years old, he doesn't know if he can fully walk away from coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I like his quote. He says, "I want people to understand I'm doing this for free." Coach Probst is one of the most interesting personalities, characters. He's controversial for a lot of reasons. But, man, I still remember when he took that head coaching job at Colquitt County and just the success he brought to that program. They were competing in the toughest region. Their playoff record under him, all the trips to Atlanta. I mean, he is just such a heck of a football coach. And I think anytime you're able to bring him into your program, it's going to help put you on the map. It's going to be maybe a lot of media distractions, but man, he is going to be exciting, and definitely the fans will love having them there.
With Coach Probst being a controversial hire, do you feel like this move was surprising after their head coach was let go also because of some questionable things?
Well, I think he's always going to try to get new opportunities. I feel like he would be willing to coach anywhere, and I don't think this is the last we'll see of him. This will be interesting to see how he's able to do these next few weeks, but it is tough just to see him go in there for maybe 4 months. But I guess this is a step, or putting his foot back in it, and maybe it will lead to something more permanent. I've always enjoyed talking to Coach Probst, seeing. I really do think he cares about high school football on a macro level. He wants it to have a big spotlight on it. And in that capacity, I think he does have a benefit to the game. But obviously, there's some people that don't like the way he does things, or don't like the controversy, which I understand. But overall, I think he has helped just bring a spotlight to high school football.
There's always going to be people complaining about how you do things, but as long as the team that he's coaching is winning, I think that's the most important thing going into this season. Well, coming up, we have a lot of special guests joining us live on show today, so don't go too far. We'll be back right after this quick break.
Nobody wants to hear the word roaches, because who wants to admit they have roaches?
I actually found some weird roaches. I didn't know what they were. I decided to choose Breda. I reached out to them. They check in routinely. They're explaining what they're doing, so there's a lot of clarity in the process as well. I think that just speaks to the level of safety that I feel with the organization.
The facts are, roaches are everywhere in our environment, so what are you doing to keep them out of your home?
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career. And by Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters.
Welcome back into Georgia High School Sports Daily. We're really excited to bring on a guest with us now live to the show. Westminster head coach Nelson Stewart. He's coming into his first season with Westminster. Coach, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you. I'm sorry we had to practice spirited, so my voice this morning went, but everything's going great. Couldn't be happier. Thank you for having me.
Well, Westminster coming off a Week 1 win over Leavitt 14-8. Coach, what really stood out to you about this Week 1 win?
Well, I don't really get caught up in rivalries, but I know how important that game is to both communities. It was a great environment. We had to, like so many other people, go through a barrage of lightning delays. It was certainly my career the latest we've started, 9:15. But I thought overall our defense was outstanding. Holden, love it to one score. He got us on a 2-point conversion. Really was on us. I think his coach is not being prepared. But the staff did a great job. Defensive staff was outstanding. We were able to jump up early. 2 seam shots from Chris Kuzniak to Will Barton, and I thought we played fast, played efficient early, and we slowed down a little bit, but we'll take it. But a lot of work left to do. But awful happy for the staff and the kids just to get a W coming out.
You're familiarizing yourself with the rivalries. You're learning the traditions of Westminster. How has the transition to their head coach been for you and your family?
Well, thank you for asking. I feel like I've been here since January when Shannon Soares reached out and I was hired. I've tried to come up here every 2 or 3 weeks. I was able to, work remotely as much as possible. Really was able to get team meetings, get to know the kids, had some virtual Zooms. COVID kind of taught us how to do that. But I think it's gone, as smooth as can be. I was able to help at my alma mater with their new head coach, who's doing a great job just coaching the O-line. And I've been up here since day after graduation. Just a wonderful, I think, reception for both myself and my family. Westminster's a very special place. I often say it's like my previous position, Newman on steroids, in a good way. I think it's got a little of everything, but it's a wonderful environment. Couldn't be happier. And all credit to Keith Evans, our president, Shannon Soares, the administration, and we've really been able to build an outstanding staff of assistant coaches. Certainly, 11 guys that would be tough to duplicate, I think, anywhere. But it's been wonderful. My family couldn't be happier. They're going to get through this year, graduate in a few spots, and come meet me. But I get real dialed in during the season. I think FaceTime makes it a lot easier too. So I can see him every evening after practice.
And then, Coach, in terms of the roster size, from your previous coaching spots at Newman to this Westminster team, increasing the roster number is always a goal, but how does it compare to what you've been coaching with?
Well, Newman was always kind of ebbs and flows. My first year we were at 39 back in 2006, and when we left we were closer, 62 to 70. So we got up there. Obviously, when we had Arch Manning, and back when my brother plays Eli, you could maybe swell a little with some of those extra guys maybe that want to play. But we got used to roster management. I think the biggest thing is we're mid 70s right now. It's a sweet spot for us. But I think with all the coaches, it really makes it easy. You just got to good attention to detail, make sure all the kids are covered. We have so many great position coaches. I think it's fine. I think equipped to do it. I've seen it before. I just have a probably different level of support around me in order to manage it. So yeah, it's definitely bigger. I think it's a bigger position, kind of on all levels. But I feel like I was, uniquely qualified with being in a previous independent school with the academic structure Newman has, and obviously Westminster has that same standard of excellence in everything they do. So definitely bigger, but I feel like I've been able to manage it so far.
And then in terms of this Lovett matchup, these are two teams that are usually pretty evenly matched on both sides of the ball. What was it that you think went in your favor? Was it just limiting the mistakes? Was it maybe a couple more big plays than them? How do you guys think you were able to tilt this game?
Yeah, well, I think you just kind of said it. I think we were able to eliminate, explosives. They had to drive it. They did a really good job. Love it. Obviously, Coach Muskamp, they are incredibly coached. As good, as well coached a team as I've seen, my career. Just great attention, detail, physicality. The kids played so tough. I thought physically it was, pretty close. I guess even matchup. But yeah, I think we're able to, get some explosives early. We're able to bottle them up, make them drive it. In the end of the game, they did a really good job, of kind of slowing us down. But thankfully, we have a 5-star punter. I'm known as an offensive guy, but when you have a DJ Cool, you can punt. We pinned them deep, and I think those extra 20, 30 yards really helped us in terms of, they really couldn't finish the drive. But it just comes down to little mistakes, little things. And I think neither side was perfect. We got a kick blocked. We had 2 turnovers, which to me is a sin. But I thought we did enough good things right to get the victory. But, look, there's a much higher ceiling for this team, and I think we have a lot of work in front of us, especially in our region. We have to get better.
Tomorrow, you'll go up against Pace Academy. Sean Weatherspoon also in his first year. When it's early on in the season, how do you prepare going up against teams under the direction of a first-year head coach?
Well, first off, I know about Sean Wesford. He was a much better football player than me. Played much better defense. So I think they have that. Just again, I think we swap film. You get what you can out of it. You just try and you still got to focus on yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Everyone's got other things that they do. So we don't want our kids to be robots out there. We've spent the staff great. We've been about 7 hours Sunday and back and forth, but we just again I think you correct the mistakes from the previous week. We had to battle lightning and weather, so we had to go indoors and do those things. But continue to focus on ourselves, keep growing, and pace is fantastic. They're explosive. They have a defensive end that has got offers from I believe Georgia and Texas. He could cut off the edge of the field. They have 3 really good quarterbacks. They've got explosive wide receivers. So look, they're very talented. They're well coached. We're gonna have to play well. They play with good passion, good energy, and I just think that take what it is with the film, but expect anything. I think with a first-year head coach, especially with Coach Wesford had been at a previous stop, you can only guess so much. But he's doing a great job, and we're gonna have to play really well.
Looking back at your coaching history, you've had the chance to work with some really great athletes, Arch Manning, Odell Beckham, to name a few. What stands out about some of those players that you've had the opportunity to work with?
Well, I think that both of them, I always say about Arch. Arch is a heck of an athlete. He can make those off-platform Mahomes-type throws. And Odell, he could reach forever. You couldn't outthrow him on a fade route. And the physical ability, but the work ethic, they never took a day off. Both, were heavily recruited, but never missed a Saturday workout or a film session, to go on a visit. They were great teammates first. I think all about the team. Neither was particularly obsessed with stats. It was more about taking what the defense gave them. They took tremendous pride in themselves. They worked hard in the weight room. Arch, just like Odell, you can see he's been in Texas, just selfless. He's worked hard to deserve, and earn his opportunity. Odell, very same, but just relentless in their pursuit of greatness. There was just, it was never good enough. They always wanted to get better. I was reminded, actually, I saw Odell, his first time he came by in a while, right before he came to Westminster, came to see me look great in January, and a lot of great times with both, but it just has to all come together. And I think the biggest thing is that character and that work ethic. How much do you love football and how much do you want to win? And both of them certainly are as high in that category as any 2 players I've ever coached.
With Arch being at Texas now, let's just talk a little college football. What edge do you think he gives this offense, and how dangerous do you think Texas is going to be this year?
Well, I think that the thing that I would say about Arch, and if you looked at my previous position, Newman, the majority of our players are probably went on to be good fraternity football players, maybe some Division III. But Arch, one of his best qualities is his ability to throw vertically, knock the top off coverages. Sark likes it. He has a barometer for what kids have to even run in the 100 to get there. But I think he can launch the deep ball. He throws the intermediate stuff, the RPOs, while he can run. And I think it's just that ability, the explosive play. I've never had a player that could get flushed out the pocket and still throw it, however far, 50 yards on the line to the opposite hash. He can do those things. And look, he started very hard. And I think that you see it in the NFL now. He's a dual threat. You have to be able to run, you have to be able to throw, and not just do one thing well. I think he kind of fits all those margins. And he just, I think Sark's the perfect coach for him. Sark, recruit him with A.J. Milwee. I think that in the day and age of NIL and, guys are so quick to move in the portal, he's hung in there, and I'm very proud of him for it. And look, he's seasoned. He's ready. Look, he'll never throw for enough yards. I'm sure he'll make a mistake, and there'll always be pundits, but I would be awful, fearful as a defensive coordinator because he can tack every inch of the field and also move it with his legs. So I couldn't be more excited for him.
And then, Coach, you replaced Jerry Romberg. He was at this school for 33 years. That is a long time in this profession. What were some of the benefits or maybe challenges of replacing a coach that had been there for so long? And then you did mention Region 6. Just real quick, how does this tough region schedule compare to some of the other regions you faced?
Well, yeah, like I said, quickly, Coach Romberg, I was at Newman 26 years, I believe, in longevity. I think it says all about, he's a Hall of Famer, everything about Westminster. That made it more appealing. He had a great foundation, a great standard. Kids that were used to doing the little things right. Won a state championship with him, obviously, previously, 2 in the 70s. So great foundation. He's been wonderful to me. taught me all about Westminster. We're trying to keep those traditions. We're not changing uniforms and tearing down walls. We don't know what's behind them. So that made it more appealing. And again, I just think Westminster, there's a reason. I don't think you can find anywhere else like this in the country in totality of what it offers. But Region, all I can tell you is there are no days off. Everybody's tough. Everybody's well coached. Everybody is hardened. I think you have to stay healthy. You have to be relentless, and you just have to focus on the process of getting better every day. I would say how it compares previously. We played John Curtis when they were the #1 team in the country at Newman, and able to get that gap in St. Charles Catholic, St. James Academy. But I don't think we've ever had 5 or 6 of them in the same regions, what we used to call districts. So, look, it's a tremendous challenge. I know that, knew it going in, but you got to embrace it, work hard, and just have so much respect for Georgia football and what it takes to win on Friday nights. And part of my passion and the wanting to come here was for that challenge for myself, for our staff, and just comes from a place of nothing but respect in terms of all the opponents we're going to play.
Coach Stewart, it was such a treat speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck to your team tomorrow as they go up Pace Academy.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. Go Cats.
All right, joining us after the break, we'll have another guest live. Stay tuned. We have a great lineup on today's show. We'll be back right after the break. We love to catch up with what the GHSA is doing, and now we like to welcome a very special guest. Joining us now is Tanya Anderson. She's the Associate Director of the GHSA, and we want to talk about some exciting things happening at the GHSA. So there was a move to move the track and field state championship to UGA. Can you just talk about what all went into making this move?
Right. So we're just excited to be able to offer this elevated state track and field experience to our athletes. So since we have this great new facility being constructed in Athens, why not take advantage of that and be able to elevate the track and field experience for our students? So we've partnered with University of Georgia. They've been incredible to work with, the athletic association there. And so we're working to pull all the pieces together to make this a great event.
What does this mean for participants getting the opportunity to compete at such a big university?
Well, I think it's going to be super exciting. You may have seen the rendering that we sent out in our communication to all of our schools and athletic directors, system athletic directors. We have it on our website, but the rendering doesn't really capture the essence of actually being there on site. And while it is still under construction, there's still, you can just feel how impressive it will be when it's finally finished and we can get our athletes there.
And what was the process like having those conversations to make this move official? The state championships have typically been down in Carrollton the last few years as the multi-day event. How long did that take to be able to work this partnership?
It took a few conversations. Like you said, we have traditionally, and let me thank our host, our very reliable host, Carrollton, Albany at Hugh Mills Stadium. They've been hosting for 40 years, back when we had girls at Albany, boys at Jefferson, East Jackson, Rome at Barron Stadium. These are our hosts that have been taking care of us at 4 different sites. So it took a lot of conversation to try to figure out how to bring this all together and to make it equitable to all of our students so that we can have the same experience for all students, and so that we can all be together on different days, but be at the same site.
And then the other difference, I think you guys typically have these, Friday through Saturday is when the championships are. The prelims are before that. You guys are avoiding the graduation and some other things on campus. So what are some of the challenges, maybe logistically, of starting it earlier in the week?
So since we cannot do our traditional Friday, Saturday because of University of Georgia graduations, we're going to move our meet to the week following that. So May 11th through 14th, it's a Monday through Thursday. But hearing from coaches and administrators across the state, it's actually a pretty good time because your testing is over with typically. And so it's a good time, if we have to do it during the week, to do it then. And we're going to do a one-day meet versus what we did last year was a 2-day meet. But our sectional meet is a one-day meet as well. So we're continuing that sequence.
And then who were the people at the University of Georgia that wanted this to happen and basically made it possible? Who were some of the names that were able to make this partnership work?
Well, we did reach out to Coach Smart, and if he was definitely on board with it. But I've been working most personally with Tanner Steins at the Athletic Association there, and he's been really great to work with. And there's a team of people that are helping me there. And I say just me, I have a team myself, so we're just all working together.
How do you hope this move to the University of Georgia impacts the turnout for state track and field?
Yeah, that's hard to predict. So, parking we'll have to be creative with parking, and we will have the seating, but hopefully it will, it's really about, I do think about the spectators, and I hope that it's a good experience for them. And I hope we can have a lot of spectators, but our goal is to serve our student athletes. And so that's what my mindset has been on when we're planning this event.
And what are you and your team most excited about with this new partnership?
I can't wait to see the faces of the athletes when they're there. I think they're just going to be, I'm excited just visiting it while it's under construction. So I can't wait to see their faces, and I hope they're excited and pleased as well.
And then the state championships for track and field, it's such a huge event with the amount of participants. Everything has to be run very smoothly. There's not going to be redos if equipment didn't work or anything like that. How confident are you that this will be a smooth process, and how does the new location kind of help some of the challenges in the past?
Well, we have our timing group that's been timing for us for years and years. They also do cross country. So, I have a sense of confidence with that. They're great. So timing is always, makes me a little nervous because I don't always understand it, but they always smooth everything and get everything done just so. I've got a great team of people working on officials. It does take a lot of people to pull off a track and field event, and we've been relying on our schools that host. So we've got a team working on officials and volunteers, all the things that we need for a state track and field meet, and put it all together.
And how do you hope to see this sport continue to grow? I mean, I feel like the state of Georgia has produced so many great track and field athletes. Where do you hope for it to be in 5 years?
It's going to continue to grow. I don't know if you know this, but track and field is #1 in participation in the state and in the nation for girls. And the sport of track and field is #2 in participation for boys. So, there's so many events, the sprints, the distance, the throws, the jumps, the verticals, horizontals that an athlete can choose from. So it will continue to grow. It's just a historically great sport.
Well, we're excited for May to see all the athletes competing at the University of Georgia for state track and field. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Joining us after the break, we'll have another head coach joining us to talk some football, so don't go anywhere just yet. We'll be right back.
Customer service is everything in our industry, and one thing our clients love is when they call Breda, they get a live representative. At Breda, you get the attention you need and deserve right when you call in. Your appointment gets scheduled right then and there, and you get a specific time, no window of arrival. Our staff are your neighbors. They know what's going on in your community, and they're invested in doing it better.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that, instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
We're heading into the second week of the high school football season. We've been catching up with coaches all throughout the week. We have another one joining us now. Thomas County Central head coach Justin Rogers is with us today. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're doing good. So your team had a dominant win over Monroe in week one, 56-7. What stands out to you about this week one performance?
I was just happy with our consistency. I thought we came out early on and played really well. That first game is always such an emotional game. You know, you're always juiced up and excited. So you want to see your kids be able to execute. And so I was really proud of the way we did that early on and didn't come out to a slow start, but was able to get it going early.
Strong performance on both offense and defense. Did one in particular stand out to you as one that you were looking for, like the most experience going from the offseason into the regular season?
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I wanted to give you a better answer than that, but no. I mean, we want to be good at both, you know, offense and defense. So we've got a lot of returning starters, both on offense and defense. And so we expected that to be, you know, a mature group. I think I was more happy with special teams. You know, I think we work offense and defense all summer, and you got a better feel for what to expect there. I think sometimes in these early games, you're more nervous about the special teams. I think you see a lot of teams that give up cheap touchdowns in games 1 and 2 in special teams that winds up costing them ball games. And so I was glad to see us play well there.
And then, Coach Rogers, correct me if I'm wrong, I think after your state championship season, did the coaching staff around you change a little bit, and how much continuity has been there?
No, we've kept everybody on staff. Now, we did lose our defensive coordinator at the end of the championship year. That's the only coach we've lost since I've been here. Coach Clark wound up taking an off-the-field job at Duke, and so he's up there with them, and we're so happy for him. But we were able to bring in Will Winston, who was the defensive coordinator at Ware when they won their state championship, and he came in, and we kept all the lingo and terminology and defensive philosophies the same, and Coach Winston's done a great job for us.
And then in terms of defense, do you feel like once again this year you guys have the ability in the secondary to match up one-on-one and handle the secondary, the pass coverage, and also apply that pressure defensively?
We think so. I mean, what we like is some experience. You know, we've got a brand new free safety. We've got a brand new corner. But we did return a corner, and we returned a boundary safety. So we've got 2 new positions there. I think they're talented enough to be really good and be able to put them on some, you know, just stress them a little bit and make them play man coverage. And I think these first 5 games is going to give us the opportunity to continue to improve those positions. So when we do hit region play, you know, we do think we can play man and stress and not always have to zone things out to keep in front.
And then I know it's been a great run for you already at Thomas County Central. This is year 4, so this senior class, they were freshmen when you got there. Let's talk about what year 4 means and what you've seen from this group buying in and laying this foundation.
Yeah, definitely a special group. You know, anytime you have a group that's, you know, you come in and that's your first group that's been with you, that's kind of heard the messaging, the branding of what a style of football we want to play, and now they're here their senior year. So, that always makes it just a great group. They've been a really successful group. This town here has been really good at football. And the winningest senior class in the history of Thomas County Central was the 1998 senior class, who won 2 state titles and won 51 games over that span. Well, right now, this group right here, this senior class here, is 13 wins away from tying that, which is a heck of a feat. And so they've been a good group, and they're a fun group to be around. They're a really connected group that love each other and been playing ball since their YMCA days.
High school sports is changing when you look at Buford building a $63 million stadium. Thomas County Central is having an indoor facility built. I got to take a look at some of the pictures. It's just getting started, but it already looks so impressive. What all went into making this big project possible?
A lot, a lot of time too. Yeah, we started this when I got hired. I mean, that was part of it when I interviewed for it, that they were going to make this investment in football, that they recognized the importance and what the value is. And so we had to move a student parking lot first, then we had to do a bunch of groundwork to build it. And so it has been a 3-year journey to get this done, but we should move in it the 1st of October of this year. And it's going to be something else when it's done. It'll have a brand new, obviously 120-yard indoor, 2 outside turf fields, weight room, cafeteria, training room, locker room, coaches' offices, all of that, all connected right there together. And then it's multi-purpose too, so it has a gymnastics area, band, will have their own area, and then also ROTC. So I can't wait, for people to come down here and cover it and show the state once we get it opened up. We're super excited about it. Can't open soon enough.
How do you anticipate this facility helping to give your team an edge, especially with the offseason? Weather is so unpredictable, having this facility indoors.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is the consistency of it. Right now we're in that August month and September down here in South Georgia, especially when you're not that far away from the water. We get so many pop-up showers. Oh my gosh! I mean, every afternoon when the heat gets in those 90s, you just get showers that pop up, and you don't know who's going to get it today or tomorrow. And so having somewhere to go to continue to train and continue to practice to get better is going to be invaluable. And then also just the consistency that turf gives you, because again, it's going to be the same. You don't have to rotate fields, on the natural surface. You got to always move your practice fields to a new field to allow growth. I mean, you can't just stay on all the time and expect grass to grow. So I think that helps as well. So just being able to be consistent and everybody kind of knows what you're getting into. So now the focus can truly be on the practice itself.
And then, Coach, talk just a little bit offensively about the depth you guys have at the running back position this year.
Yeah, I got now obviously we got Christian Deuce Lawrence, the veteran coming back for his senior campaign, committed to Wake Forest, or unbelievable running back. But then below him, we have a junior, Evan Martin. We have a sophomore, Jordan McNeil, and a sophomore, Jamarian Paytee, that I just think those three are just so talented. I think they've got a chance to be so good. And the only thing they lack is experience and wisdom. And the first 5 games is going to help them tremendously. You can already tell from the Lounge scrimmage to the Monroe game how much they've gotten better and how much the game has slowed down. That's the biggest thing, is for those young players just to kind of get a feel for the speed of the game at the varsity level. No different than our guys that go off to college, and they've got to get a feel for that speed of the game at that level. It always moves up, and so we've got a lot of depth there. We're really excited about that position grouping, and so they should give us a lot of opportunities as the season goes on to do some different things.
Then some of your coaches we have mentioned had gone on to the college level, and recruiting is a big part of your job and your staff's job, getting these kids to the next level. How has that maybe gotten easier since you've been there a few years now, and how much of a challenge is that to balance, just making sure with all these talented athletes to make sure they're getting their opportunities?
Yeah, definitely hasn't gotten easier. Transfer portal really, makes it tough on high schoolers, getting those opportunities. And we've been blessed to be able to get a lot of guys in. We have a guy on our staff, Coach Mizell Atkins, our running back coach. Coach Atkins just does an unbelievable job of really promoting our kids and getting it out there. And I think that is the job of the coach. We need to advocate for them and get the info out there. We talk about process all the time, which is control the things you can control in order to attain the things you can't control. And I can't control if a college is going to give an offer to one of my guys, but I can control that he's going to have the tape and he's going to have the transcript and he's going to get messages from us, giving them information of miles per hour and measurables. So now if the tape is good and our players put out a good product, then they can be seen. And so I do think that's important. I think our staff understands the importance and does a really good job with it.
Before you enter a tough region, what's the most important thing you're looking for out of your team before you enter that region play?
Consistency. We've talked about that a couple times. That's the whole deal. If you're going to be great, then you're consistently, playing at the level you can, whether that's Monday afternoon or that's Friday night, whether that's a big top 10 opponent or a team down the street. It doesn't matter. And so making sure that you're playing at the standard and level that you expect yourself to be at and constantly improving. And for young people, that's always a challenge. Heck, that's a challenge for 46-year-olds like myself. I mean, to make sure that you're being consistent and having a growth mindset that you can get better every day. And so making sure that we always maintain that.
Thanks for joining us, Coach Rogers, and we're excited to see the finished product of the indoor facility come October.
Yes, absolutely. Y'all come down and get to come see it. We want to promote it. We're excited about it and proud of it, and we can't wait.
Thanks, Coach. Well, coming up after the break, we're going to talk about some exciting football matchups out of state, even though we have a lot of cool matchups in state as well. We're going to preview week 2 tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after the break. Welcome into the final block of Georgia High School Sports Daily. Joining us now on set is Hayden. We've had a great week 1, but looking at grade 2, we want to take some time to talk about some really great out-of-state matchups. We have a handful of ones we want to get to, starting off with Gainesville. Moody is coming to Gainesville. Now, their head coach of Gainesville, had experience coaching in Alabama, coached at Hoover. What does this mean to have an Alabama program coming to Georgia to take on Gainesville?
I mean, it means a lot. When you look at this matchup, Moody was a team last year that made a state finals appearance. They're a really good football team. They have a lot of really talented guys. They have a 4-star 2027 edge rusher. And they have 6 or 7 guys that are D1 commits, just like Gainesville. They're going to be a really tough out for Gainesville. And this is going to be Gainesville's first real test. I think Marietta's improved over the past few years, but they're still not there yet. They're not a state title contender. They're a good team, not a great team. Moody is a great team.
I completely agree. I feel like Moody is a team where, similar to Milton, they're just so consistent in what they do on day-to-day. They're well prepared. They're deep. They're going to be a great challenge. With Gainesville's first game this season being against Marietta, they won, but maybe they could take that next step. How big of a challenge, Hayden, do you think this Moody game is for the Red Elephants? And then being at home, how important is it?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Gainesville does on the offensive line. That's a really high-end offensive line, but it's a lot of projection, not as much. There's not as many proven guys as there was, say, last year. When you look at Moody, they have 4 guys in that front 7, mainly edge rushers and defensive linemen that are FBS guys, most of them Power 5 guys. It's going to be interesting to see how Gainesville deals with that and if they can run the ball, because the passing game it's not the strong point as of this point in the season. Even though they have Kareem Hughley, there's some questions at wide receiver. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up.
Another game on this list, Creekside at Seminole. Creekside's a team we saw in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. To go from playing in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic to then having a big game against an out-of-state opponent, how much of an impact does it have on a team starting off with this gratitude of events?
I mean, it's tough, but compared to Creekside's previous years, I mean, the last 2 years, I believe they played DeSoto and Mater Dei out of California, which are 2 top 10 teams in the country. This is a step down. This is going to actually probably be an easier game for them than in years past, but it's still going to be a tough game. You're still traveling down to Florida. Everything about what Creekside's doing is to get themselves ready for a state championship run, and I think after seeing them last week, they're ready to do that.
Absolutely. I was so impressed with how well conditioned they were in that Rome game, and then that's something where if you do travel, it's not going to be jet lag, maybe bus lag. It's a pretty long drive, but I feel like they'll be able to handle that very well. And this is a team that wants to be in the spotlight. They want to go out there and represent for Creekside every single game. I think they're going to come out and have a big one. And real quick, I want to ask about the Milton one. They're playing a team that I believe had to forfeit every game last year, so it's hard to judge just how good they are. But how does Milton bounce back after they played a tough game week 1 against Buford?
I think they bounce back fine. This is kind of Milton. Milton's another one of those teams in the state. There's only maybe a half dozen. Maybe you can move it up to a dozen of teams that you never question, especially in those top 2 classifications. You never question Milton. They're gonna bounce back. They're gonna compete for a state title. I think that this is the first week of getting right, and that loss to Buford's no big deal. Like, Buford's a top 15 team in the country according to Max Preps and a top 4 team in the state.
When we go back and look at the list of games, you have teams from Florida, you have teams from South Carolina, you have teams from Alabama. Is this trending towards more likely for teams to play out-of-state opponents to really help them get prepared for their region?
I think the thing we're seeing a trend of is teams that aren't on the out of periphery of the state. Traditionally, you're like Thompson's playing at North Augusta. That's a close game. That's closer than going to other parts of the state. But Gainesville playing Moody. Gainesville's nowhere close to Alabama. Same thing with Milton heading down to Florida, not close. We're seeing a lot more teams making these long road trips out of state instead of just, hopping across state lines.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat 5 years ago, before Creekside really became a team that everyone recognizes. They hadn't ever even played an out-of-state game. Now they always make an emphasis to put it on the schedule. You're going to see some like the Thompson at North Augusta from South Carolina. That's a short drive. They're right on the Augusta border. So that's a good out-of-state one, but they typically would play, whereas some other ones, the travel is definitely going to come into factor.
Are there any other games that you have circled on this list as ones you want to make sure you tune into?
I think that Thompson-North Augusta game is really interesting. Thompson's only 3 years removed from a state title. They're a traditional state title contender. And North Augusta, I believe, is a pretty good team out of South Carolina. So it's going to be interesting to see how Thompson bounced back from not a disappointing season making the quarterfinals, but a disappointing season in the fact of their regional rival, Burke County, made a state finals and competed with Carver Columbus for a state title.
Right, and that was a very close game when they played. I think they might have even met twice. I'm looking forward to the Central Carrollton at Oxford. I think Central Carrollton has a team that has been starting these guys since their freshman and sophomore season. They're going into their senior year. Jonas Walton, a power back in that backfield. A lot of positive pieces around them. I feel like going across state lines. This is a game that was very close last year. I think it was a shootout, something like 52-42. So we'll see how much better this year Central Carrollton is against Oxford.
And last quick question before we wrap up today's show. When you're entering the second week of the football season, it's tough for teams to really know their identity. When do you expect to see teams to reach its full potential before going into region play?
I think you use this entire non-region schedule. Some teams, this is it. They play in big regions. They have 9 teams in their region. This is your last non-region game. Other teams have 4, 5, 6 more games because they play in 3 or 4 team regions. So it just depends for every team, but you have to start developing it right now.
Yeah, and I think your opponent's gonna have a little more film on you if they didn't know maybe who your starter was going to be. Sometimes that can make it harder once the team's better prepared. But I think week 2 is very important because we will be able to see which teams have been able to get to improve from week 1. And then the teams that can do that likely will continue doing it throughout the whole year.
We have a big game coming up tomorrow. Colin Till will travel to Woodward Academy. Be sure you tune in. All of us will play a part in that big game tomorrow, and we'll have another week in the books. It's hard to believe tomorrow's already Friday. Thanks for joining us for a great show today. We'll see you tomorrow.